This is Comcast Local Edition. I'm Jack Hansen. We're aboard the USS Hornet. This is a floating museum. This aircraft carrier was a part of the Apollo program, the rescue program. Marianne Dyson's with us right now. She's an author and former member of NASA. And this command module actually flew around the Earth 3 times. It was used as a test module prior to the actual human beings getting in there and going off into space. And you've written books about the space program and so forth, and you're writing children's books now. Is that right?
That's right. I started out to be an astronomer, and then I went to work for NASA in Houston as a flight controller. I was lucky enough to be one of the first 10 women to work for NASA in mission control.
Yeah. Now, was there a change in your sort of thought about being an astronomer? Did you say the space program was more interesting, or what? So I want to go there, right?
Right. Well, as a child, I watched them doing the Apollo program, and I saw them on the moon, and I said, wow, that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
But there were no women astronauts then, and so I didn't really think that that was a career option for me. But I thought that I could, maybe there would be an opportunity in the future. I was watching Star Trek, and I saw Lieutenant Uhura on the bridge, and I said, I could do that, and that'll have to happen eventually.
Yeah, Star Trek had a big influence on you, right?
Yeah, as a kid, and also reading science fiction. I read a lot of Robert Heinlein's books, and I said Starman Jones was one of my favorites, and I said, an astrogator, that's what I could be, navigate by the stars. And so I decided to go into astronomy, thinking that I would have the skills. If the opportunity came along, I could jump on it, and that's actually what happened. I had my degree in physics, and I was in graduate school at Rice University, and they said they were taking applications for the first group of women to be flight controllers and astronauts, and I said, I'm going to do that. And I was fortunate enough to be one of the ones that was hired, and I was a flight activities officer in mission control.
What do you think brought about the situation where they brought women into space, into the space program? Were women saying, hey, let us in, or did the NASA say, we better get some women involved in this program?
I think it was just a natural evolution that women were coming into all different fields, and they said it was time.
Part of the culture, in other words, culture changes.
Yeah, it was just changing and growing, and there are lots of women at NASA now.
Right.
And in fact, one of the panel discussions today will feature a woman astronaut, an astrophysicist who works for NASA Ames, and myself, a former flight controller, and a woman Navy pilot. So. You know, women are in all fields now.
And well, they should be, I might add, Marianne. Yeah. And the books that you're writing now are full of information for adults and for children. Is that right? And the children have a great response to you when you talk to them, you go and you teach
I do
and
a
talk
lot of
about
school visits. I love the interaction with the children. They're so enthusiastic about the future and the possibilities that space offers. And my books focus on how we can use the resources of space to make a better future for ourselves. So on Space Station Science, I talk about how the space station works. It's you know, how do you cool things, and how do you solve those problems? And kids want to know how things work. How
would you respond to people who say it's just a waste of time? You know, we should worry about things here on Earth and not worry about space.
Well, I think they have maybe too short-term a view. We have a limited number of resources here on this planet, and rather than fighting over the last piece of the pie, we need to expand the pie. And the moon is right there in our backyard and has all the elements that Earth has. And we have the technology. We can go out there and use it to our advantage.
Our backyard's 240,000 miles away. That's the only difference. Is that right?
Yeah, well, that's only a 3-day trip. Shoot, you take trips longer than that here on Earth.
It's just driving through the Bay Area takes longer than that.
Exactly, and there's no traffic in space.
That's right. All right, well, it's great to see you, Marianne Dyson. Good luck with the books, and nice to see you. Have you here on the ship. Okay, take care.
Thank you.
That's Comcast Local Edition. I'm Jack Hansen, and thank you for watching. This is Comcast Local Edition. I'm Jack Hansen. We're aboard the USS Hornet. That's an aircraft carrier that is a museum, and of course it's anchored here in Alameda. Marianne Dyson is here, and Marianne Dyson is former NASA employee and flight controller. Is that right?
That's right. I used to be a flight activities officer in mission control in Houston.
And then from that, you what?
I was an aerospace consultant for a while, and then I started writing children's books.
Yeah, and the children's books are what you're doing right now.
Yes, that's right.
Tell me about the children's books, the idea that children can learn about space so quickly and learn so much from the books themselves, right?
Well, my book, Home on the Moon, was with National Geographic, and I talk about how we could use the resources of the moon to live on the moon. And most of the books that were out there about the moon talked about the history, which is very interesting, but they didn't talk about how we could use what we've learned to go to the next step. And that's what I focused on in the book. How much fun it would be to live on the moon. And
how much fun?
Oh, yeah.
Tell me about that. I don't know about fun being on the moon. I mean, it seems like a great idea, but is that even conceivable or possible in the future?
Well, of course it is. One thing I like talking to kids is that they know that there really is nothing that's impossible if they put their minds to it. And on the moon, they have 1/6 the gravity that we have on Earth. So I always have my tape measure and I stretch it out at the schools and I say, you can jump 6 times higher on the moon. So I show them a table. I say, okay, this table's 3 feet high. What's 6 times 3? And they shout out their math facts. And I say, that's right, you can do 18 feet. And we stretch it out and they're going, wow, I could jump up on the roof of my house. And then I talk to them about the fine powder that's on the moon, that you could go skiing on it, because there's no snow on the moon, but the powder is so fine that it's slippery. And one of the astronauts on Apollo made the comment that this would make a great ski area up on Hadley Mountain. It's Jim Irwin, and he was going down the hill, and he said, wow, I could ski up here. And so I talked to them about that, and I talked to them about if you have like a gymnasium that was full of air, then you could strap on wings and fly, because you weigh so much less.
Well, the wonderful thing about the kids, of course, is that they learn so much and they absorb the information. And as you point out, they think anything's possible, anything can happen. But the good thing about children's books, and your book, Space Station Science, adults can learn from these books too, because they're to the point.
Absolutely. I call it the instant expert syndrome, that when you want to know something about a subject, you can go and get the children's books on it, and over a weekend you could find out all the things that are really important about that subject. Especially the nonfiction books today are very fun to read. They have beautiful illustrations and photos, and whenever I want to know something about a subject, I go to the library and I get the children's books. And
you say forget about the adults' books. Marianne, it's great having you here. Congratulations on your success, the Golden Kite Award for your book, and you're doing terrific, and nice to meet you.
Well, thank you for having me.
You bet. That's Comcast Local Edition. I'm Jack Hansen. Thank you for watching.